Hello everybody and welcome to the Wonderyear podcast with me, PADDY RAFF, and sitting right beside me is Riggsy.
Hi everybody, very exciting to be here with our first podcast finally. We're
calling it Ep.0.
Online.
It's me, it's PADDY RAFF's episode, it's my Wonderyear. My Wonderyear is 1998. So we'll get to that in a wee second. If you want to know a bit more about the podcast and the sort of concept behind it, there is a wee introduction, podcast introduction, if you want to go back and listen to that. But we're just going to get straight into the episode as quickly as possible. So 1998 was my year, and it was a very sort of good year for me. I was rocking pair of curtains on my, like the Hearst. It wasn't like actual Harry Corey curtains. It was, I just wanted to go back to then because it was just sort of carefree year for me. I was living in the attic at the time, which was... It was effectively a store. I found out that around about that year that it was a storage unit. It wasn't counted as even a room.
Being stored.
I was being stored in the attic, Paddy in the attic, and then we had my sister is on the podcast with me as well, Claire Rafferty, who you will have seen in the likes of Derry Girls and other things. We will be doing a podcast with her on her Wonderyear at some stage in the future as well.
You brought her on just to sort of because it was the first one,
grease
just
the
to
waves,
sort of
bounce.
But I actually misunderstood and thought that she was there to fact check and make sure that you weren't trying to be too cool. Shouldn't have worried.
No, because
she was there, and I was expecting her to go. No, Paddy, you weren't listening to David Bowie. You were listening to ABBA and Steps and the Spice Girls.
I just
shouldn't have worried.
That anyway.
Yeah, you have absolutely no shame talking about how lame you were in 1998.
It was all very embarrassing, but yeah, look, it's good crack. You got to be open and honest on these things, and it's good to start the podcast. I thought it would be best just start with mine and then work our way forward. It can only be uphill from there. It's all good.
Shout out to our sponsor.
Yes,
Victoria Square.
We're
both big fans.
She sounds like somebody Nigel took to his formal. Victoria Square, very, very BT now. But no, Victoria Square, the illustrious shopping mall in the centre of Belfast.
Movies,
it's got a lot of stuff going on in there. And again, the gift card is something that I like to highlight that they do, because I'm crap at buying presents. Get somebody a gift card that can go to cinema, have something to eat, go shopping in any of the many shops where Riggsy likes to hang out. Although you were saying you just go to the sports shops, don't you? You can get them anywhere.
No, I know, but it's just there's two options right beside each other, and then if you feel a wee bit fancier, you can go into the more kind of some sort of outfitters, and then you got House of Fraser, which has got a little bit of everything. I could talk about Victoria Square all day. At some point I will.
We will record a very bespoke Victoria Square podcast where Riggsy will talk about it, and then we'll just not put it out. We'll tell them it's gone out, but it's not going anywhere.
Tell them you put it out as well.
Yeah, exactly.
A few more quid.
Look, anyway, here is the 1998 Wonder Year with me as the guest, PADDY RAFF.
My memory is you lived in the attic. No, you didn't live in the attic. That's where your bed
pretty
was.
Much did.
Bed of fish heads.
Yeah, it was proper like
Hugo, isn't it?
Hugo was Simpsons. So, and you were learning the guitar.
This is the other reason I kind of chose 98 was because up to that point, and I'm sure I've touched on it when we've been chatting to other people and stuff, but up to that point, I was listening to the most middle of the road music, which is great. Like we're only kids, so it was ABBA, Queen, ELO. Bowie was, that's it fairly, some decent stuff. But then whatever was on Atlantic 252.
Yeah,
and
which was not a bad shout, to be honest.
No, that was how amazing, right? The music on Atlantic 252 was that good. You overlooked the fact that it sounded audibly shit. Do you remember? It was like when FM was fine, but AM was like, it sounded like it was in a cardboard box or something.
It wasn't AM, it was
long wave. Of course, long wave, yeah.
AM was what they aspired to.
It
was like a level below.
That's right, but in 98 then, it was Christmas 98. You got me the Mannix album, This Is My Truth, Tell Me Yours.
That's because I had my first job in the Park Centre.
Yes, so you started up in your game.
Everybody got presents.
We got a good present that year, but that was probably just from Golden Discs in Park Centre.
Caroline Music.
Caroline Music, that was it. Yeah.
Park Centre.
But yeah, so that was another reason I kind of chose that year, was because in 98 I started listening to half decent music, I thought anyway, so a lot more rock, and that then became, I suppose, my job, playing guitar and getting, I played in the wedding band obviously then, for not anywhere near then, but yeah, I just remember kind of a bit of a turning point where I chose what music I was going to listen to. But yeah, I forgot I was in the attic by that stage.
In the attic.
But that's the thing with the attic was it was one of those conversions where it wasn't all bells and whistles. It was literally, I remember when we got our house valued a few years, like early 2000s or whatever, and it was like, this is technically a storage area.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm fucking living in a
Patrick in
storage area. They were, because I think your windows have to be over a certain size. It's like, I remember the woman saying this, so that room, that's not 4-bedroom house now. You're a mid-terrace 3-bedroom house with a storage area. I was like, I am actually living in a storage, because it was one of those windows, Velux windows, and I remember holding up my A3 art pad to it, and I covered the whole thing. I was like, it's a fucking A3 window. Imagine being able to measure.
It sorted you out when you were booking out the window. If you ever come home.
First drinking session I ever had. I remember that's happened a few times, but not at 14, but like maybe about 2 years later, 16, where I had my first drink and it was Bacardi and Coke. How disgusting. I became a middle-aged woman overnight. Yeah. Because it was the only thing we could get our hands on, me and my mate, and we were drinking it like sort of in his back garden during the summer, and I totally misjudged how much. I thought it was a quarter bottle I was drinking, because everybody's a quarter bottle. It was the same shape, but it was a half bottle. Yeah. And I thought, but I should be able to take this. Everybody is drinking quarter bottles. So I drank a half bottle of Bacardi and mixed with Coke, and then came home and stood. So the Velux window, I suppose people are going to be listening to this, I'm going to have to describe it, would have been like chin height when you opened it. Yeah. So I opened it and just stood with my head out the window and booked all over the roof, and then get into bed and went to sleep, and woke up the next day and just totally was like, oh, that's great, I got away with it. And then Google Street View came out, or Google Maps a few years later, you could see satellite footage, and you could see a discoloured streak for all the times I threw up out the window, and it hadn't been washed away. So we obviously didn't get our roofs power washed, when the fellas come around asking. We never had the money for that. Yeah. But living in the storage area and throwing up out the window. Yeah. Great
music,
times.
Yeah.
Did you like him? Obviously, he was your little brother, and I'm sure you did. Did you tolerate him? Was he okay to deal with? Or
even though there was 2 years between us, it felt like we were near enough the same age. Although, I was wee dick. I just wanted to be like this. I was the superior. I was older, and you always had me in your back pocket. Any time that, we went to the same school, and Patrick used to slag me for going to the school, even though he went there. But he was like, "But you encapsulate just everything that is wrong about the school. It's you." I can't even put my finger on it. Just Patrick run rings around me. When we were growing up, we used to fight loads, and then around this time, we started to get on. But we always had good crack. Yeah. To be honest.
What did you fight over before that? What type of things?
I mean, everything. I think Mummy said there was times where she was like, will they ever like each other? We used to proper fist fight and stuff. We were
It was because you were 2 years older, and the bossy kind of, you wanted to be like the ma when Mummy wasn't about. So you wanted to, and I had to be, I had to fall into line, and I didn't want to do that.
And of
so
course,
it was just this tussle of Claire would love to deliver orders you have to clean your room, or you have to go out, you have to go blah blah blah, and I'd be like, hold on, are you saying this, or is Mummy saying this? Well, it's coming from, it doesn't matter, you still have to do it anyway. And I went, Mummy, and so you loved just delivering the orders from on high.
I was just trying to find my lane, in life, and
but there was this probably would have been about the year where we did kind of start to mellow out.
We both love football. We both like music. We both when we went up to Donegal and stuff, we used to have crack. We did have good crack.
We love football, right? I love playing it out in the street. You used to cheerlead. Do you remember standing on the side cheerleading?
I also listen. I embraced it all. I embraced all aspects. Because I used to play, and then I'd make up wee cheerleading.
Do it. You have to do it. So this isn't an official capacity cheerleading. This was just Claire.
This is just me standing on the pavement,
watching me playing football with mates, and I would be scundered because she would be doing a bespoke, made up cheerlead.
Every person got a cheerlead. Listen, it was the long story. And this wasn't 98, by the way. This is when I was about 10.
Okay.
So the one for you was I'm actually scolded.
We're in too deep now, Claire.
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay.
Do you want to stand up? Do you need
No, I'm
pom-poms?
not standing up. It was like, an Irish laddie, that's our Paddy. Watch him score. There will be more. Yay! And the yay was always like so
Forced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like,
You remember that suspiciously easily?
do you know why? Because
Have
he
you
tells
said that
his-
recently?
He tells his
Before
kids.
any SSE shows?
No, it's it's my new material. No, he tells his kids everything that I
Yeah.
did, and they all just think it's hilarious. So I actually get slowered at by Ronan,
Yeah.
who is like nearly 8, and he's just like, "Why were you doing that?" An Irish laddie, that's our, but, you know, like that's
Irish laddie, that's our
Paddy.
Paddy.
Watch him score. There will be more.
That's good.
Ironically,
bad.
though, I was that crap that there very rarely was more. If I scored,
Yeah.
there wasn't really many more.
What did I don't know. I think I had some for
Everybody did.
Everybody
I
had
remember
one. The
Larry.
thing is, there was like always one boy that I fancied. It was more like to try and impress. Like obviously, looking back, this was not the way to go. Like I'm going to make you a bespoke cheerleading chant, and I'm going to stand on the side of the pavement and do it. Yeah, it didn't really work. Like, but it was all a bit of crack.
That's amazing.
I do think it was just to embarrass me, but then
Listen, I actually know it wasn't about like I was like what I just was a wee dick. Like I just loved getting on like that and being performing. And if anyway, it was like cheerleading. I could try cheerleading.
and then 98, you were working in JD, were you?
JD in the Park Centre.
Yeah, JD in the Park Centre, and that sounds like a band, like Cool in the Gang. JD
Yeah,
in the Park
JD in the Park Centre. Yeah.
JD in the Park
Yeah.
Centre. Yeah.
See people from West Belfast. Whenever it's all West Belfast. It's all the Park Centre. It's all Carlisle music in the Park Centre.
Yeah.
You very rarely venture out of your own little part of the city.
Well, then, no, like now, obviously. But like back then, I suppose when you're a teenager, you didn't, you worked and you went to school and you worked like were in your area. I suppose it's still
what
like
it was.
a kind of
Do you know what it was?
hangover.
It was a troubled
Yeah,
hangover thing.
hangover from the Troubles.
Because it's the same like East Belfast, West,
Yeah.
North. Don't really know about South like too much, but definitely it was like you had these sort of satellite, shopping centres for
Yeah.
people because you couldn't really go into the town or you
Yeah.
didn't want to go into the town. So it became like this sort of hub where everybody, in
And
the
it was
West,
crack, like, I mean,
if
great
there was a
thing.
communion coming up or a wedding,
Yeah.
I had to get down to the Park Centre for thing. It'd be the same with Conswater or whatever. I had
Yeah.
to go to, because those were the places that you went to because it was either too dangerous to go into town, maybe cost a bit too much. So
Yeah.
everybody. I suppose that is why everybody has these references. Then I love about. Because remember Mark lived over in East Belfast, and I remember going over, and I hadn't really ever been over much, and I was like, Jesus, this class, you've got like it's all the same things. It's a bit like Shelbyville and the Springfield. It's the exact same things. They had they had their own bargain shop, Wise Buys. I
Yeah.
loved. I went
Still
down to
there?
Wise Buys. It's
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
But I remember what was the quote? It says he says I don't know if it's like an official slogan of theirs. It says if it's not in West Buys, you don't need it. Like if you're looking for something, like if West Buys don't have it, you don't need it. It's like, oh, it's class. But yeah, like definitely that Shelbyville and Springfield kind of thing.
I suppose I didn't even really know the difference. He didn't know that's what it was like. But then when you like, I went to Queens then as well. Like your typical just go to uni, just there in Belfast. But then when I left for London when I was 23, it was like oh my God, like, you go from West Belfast. I don't think I was in East Belfast until I moved back from London.
You've been to London
I was there
first.
for 12 years and I was like, this is class. So, yeah.
Do you find that? Do you find that people from West Belfast generally tend to have all their references are just from there?
Is that a joke? Are you kidding me?
We're built on these
I-
references.
Yeah, and it's not. It's like even now, I get that impression from people from West Belfast
Yep.
that they still like talking about West Belfast,
I
and the
think-
references are all very much West Belfast.
Yeah. I suppose because
I feel like I need to be careful that I'm criticizing that.
Yeah,
It's-
to
it's
see
a- it's a
the
beautiful
temperature in the
thing.
room kind of dropped
Yeah.
there. But it's like, I think he's trying to say
I guess
something.
let's just end this one here.
Yeah, I think I'm done.
You like
Uh,
sticking to your own. That's
I think definitely that was the case at the time, and we are talking about
and not
that
not in a
time.
political way. I don't.
He's digging himself
Yeah.
here.
No, I'm really not. It's just it's
Where's his Beth?
it's a pride thing.
Yeah.
It comes from
No, I think yeah.
And if you look at the Park Centre now, I mean, I was there a couple of weeks ago because I had to get my car done for the MOT cleaned, and I went in, and it's like. It's
Yeah.
almost like I can hear like echoes of that time when it was like the buzz. I mean, I worked in JD Sports like just because I got the job. I was working in the Fly. I pretended I had experience in a
Yeah,
bar,
that's
and
right.
they soon found out I hadn't, and was like, and also I was in school, so I got this job in JD, and like it wasn't really. It didn't expect it to be anything other than just a wee job, and I still hold it as like one of the best times of my life. Still know everybody from it. It was like the crack was 90, but like seeing you go in now, it's just like
It's all
there's
just
nothing
empty
there.
retail units and
Yeah.
all. And that's the thing is that every unit, there wasn't one that wasn't, and it's the same even with Conswater, because again, like I hadn't been to it that much, if at all, in my youth.
Public
But like
hobby
now, it's the
centre,
same
basically.
thing where there's lots of empty units and people from there. Like it was buzzing, like for so many decades, and it's because it's so much easier to go into town. The other thing as
Yeah.
well is ordering things online. I don't even go into
yeah.
town anymore
Yeah.
because there's literally things
It's
that
the same.
I just ordered online. It's there almost the next day.
Yeah.
But with Park Centre, like going in and you see these empty retail units that are sitting, and you're like, do you ever see like there's ones that are closed up, and then there's one that's like a retail unit, and it's just a man sitting behind the desk in the middle of it, and you're like, what do you do? And he's like,
know, it's so-
they're just
it's-
fucking
yeah.
sitting there. Like some of them will like value your gold and stuff, and like, but like there's ones just sitting. You're like, are you just keeping this place
see,
warm?
just to like further underline what you're saying, like Patrick worked round the corner in Duns,
Duns,
which
yeah.
like I mean, as in 2 retail units down
Yeah.
for JD Sports.
Yeah.
It's like
How,
you could see you
the
going out.
references, yeah.
Could see you going out for your lunch and all going, where are you going? Bayleaf. It's just like actually I feel seen.
Yeah.
honestly.
I think we should break and enjoy Paddy's birthday party in 1998. This is
It's
going to
my
be
party.
a regular feature.
Yeah, I
in the
suppose because this is
podcast.
going out. This is the first one to explain the very convoluted
Doesn't
concept.
it's not that convoluted.
I
Yeah.
think it is though.
Okay.
I think it needs explaining. So
Right.
basically, here's what happens. Like, get the blackboard out. Right, we're gonna have to. So we with each guest, we take them back to their birthday in that year, find out what their birthday was, and we have like the top 10 songs from that exact date and time to see what they would have this on their playlist or their CD, I suppose, at the party, and then we do other bits and pieces as well.
Do you understand that, listeners?
Yes,
I'm
this
here.
is just in case it blew anybody's mind. And they had to please pull the car over if you're listening to this in the car. We're about to do It's My Party.
So it's the Wonderyear podcast. It's 1998. It's Paddy's birthday. We're not going to give out the specific date because Paddy's convinced that that'll mean everyone will have access to all of his
Data.
Yeah, 'cause
Data.
obviously that must be your password for everything. Then, so if you want to look up Paddy's birthday online, then go and just absolutely wait till one of the SSC arena shows.
Yeah,
the
just
the
after.
next day, just go in, absolutely clean them out. I'll help you with any other details. I've already rinsed them for kind of Mother's Day.
That is
and
actually
stuff.
my only joke. Could you imagine?
So it's early summer, and we'll offer you a selection of gifts to choose from. But just to talk
Yeah.
about the music, and you've mentioned how music in 1998 was fantastic. The top 10 might suggest otherwise. Number 10, and this is a big one for 1998, theme tune from the biggest selling movie of that
Titanic.
year. Yeah.
Oh, was it
Titanic was
yeah,
just
big one.
bonkers.
Titanic, brilliant film, and I remember it was the first time seeing Ditties in the cinema. Do you remember
Yeah.
Kate Winslet got her Ditties out?
I do, yeah.
Yep.
Of course I do.
In that, but like nobody was expecting that, and I had mates that had gone and seen it, and they hadn't like pre-warned me that this was going to happen. Like, why did you tell me? But that was a testament to how good the movie was. That wasn't the big takeaway. It was probably the iceberg and the special
Well,
effects.
it's the first thing you brought up about it.
Well, no,
Ditties!
to me, it was like
on
when
the
I was
poster.
thinking about that, I was like, that's
Titanic.
the first time, yeah,
Ditties.
featuring
Ditties.
Kate Winslet's Ditties.
So that's in the top 10. Dance the Night Away.
Oh,
Or
Mavericks.
Gentle Song from the
Mavericks. That's the only song. Well, not the only song, but it only has 2 chords in it the whole way through. E and B. It was one of the first songs I learned on the guitar. E B E B, and you think surely this song's going to change, and you're like, nope. And I remember playing it like in the band, being asked, "Will you play the Mavericks Dance the Night Away?"
God,
Like, all right, so you start
everybody,
playing it, and you're like, oh my god, you just no amount of brass
very
section
gentle.
can but still a good tune, like
Yeah.
fair play, no?
Busta Rhymes is in there. Savage Garden, Truly Madly Deeply.
Oh my god.
Bit of Steps, last thing on my mind. One of the. I
Literally
don't remember that.
loved
I thought Steps were.
Do you remember
very-
that song though, Claire?
Yeah,
Do
this
I?
was
I
the
went-
last
Yeah,
thing
I actually went to see them a couple of years ago. I can't believe I'm admitting to that, but they get me.
Did you
not
know
think-
I know a whole load of people that went to see Steps a couple of years ago, and you know where they were all from?
West Belfast?
That's Belfast. That's true.
Me,
We
Brona
had our
Taggart,
own
and Lisa
tribute act.
McGee went, and we just didn't
name
care.
dropping there. Oh,
Yeah,
there we go.
yeah. We had like
So Lisa McGee's dropping all this credible indie music from the 90s, but in reality she's going to see Steps.
Have you seen the playlist, the Series 3, the Derry Girls? There's a Spotify playlist for it.
It's all great music, though. I don't think there's any steps in it.
No, listen, there's no steps. I mean, like it's
A secret shame.
it is, it's a secret shame. But
Nothing
like,
I thought they were very like, it was like ABBA. It was like a new ABBA kind of thing. It was, I think they deliberately kind of went for that, maybe.
Yes, I love them.
Catatonia, Tampere featuring Maya with Feel It.
Oh, can you
Jackson.
feel
Oh,
it?
that was great.
Yeah, what was
That
it? What was the
brilliant.
line in that there? What's you going to
Wanna
look like
look up
with
where
it?
the
Chimney on her head.
But
That was
people used to
so
sing,
good.
North Belfast once used to sing, what's she gonna look like at the chimney corner? The chimney
Oh,
corner.
very good.
Run DMC, it's like that.
Oh,
Jason Evans.
so good.
Oh, yeah.
Could you breakdance Paddy Raff in 1998?
I was going to say now. I was going to say there's a table in the way and stuff.
Well, I thought you'd never ask.
No, and I
Like a
wish,
rematch?
I really wish it
Oh my
could,
God.
because there was another song around the same time, you know, for freestylers,
Oh,
the
yeah.
microphone, and they say
Funk
Bomb
MCs.
Funk MCs, and all the fellas breakdancing. Take That could breakdance as well. Mark Owen was quite good breakdancer, and I
all
remember
were. They were all
secretly
great,
because
except for Gary.
you loved Take That, and I on the surface said I hated them just because you loved them, but secretly I was like, you can't million love songs, pray,
Yeah.
all I do is, and they were brilliant at breakdancing. Still to this day, when you look back on their moves, you're like,
That Run DMC track when that came out, like
Yeah.
I remember, like it was like a moment in your life where you go, okay, this is cracker.
yeah.
This is
And
just
it's just a
cracker.
really simple video, just
Just
in the car
so-
park, wasn't it? Like a little
That's
people
right, yeah,
breakdancing.
the dance off kind of thing. Yeah, no, I couldn't.
So
I would have
good.
tried. I would have been athletic enough and nimble enough, but I could never. I always thought I could do it, and then I think
Very nimble.
enough.
Quite nimble.
Just to pull some
All
ballet.
right, well,
Nimble, yeah.
yes, my brother. What was he like? He was very
Paddy,
nimble.
Paddy.
He was such a
Jazz
nimble
hands.
boy.
I
Rocking
just
up to a
did
dance off
little-
at a tutu. You ever refereed a dance off as in your wedding band days, Paddy?
Oh yeah, yeah. You would have had dance offs. Yeah,
What
like,
do you look for?
I've done, yeah.
it was somebody that looks more spontaneous. There was nothing worse than whenever you rocked up to play at a wedding and they would come up and say, we're going to do the first dance. Do you have our first dance track that I sent you? And you've listened to it and it's got like, you know, it starts off with John Legend, All of Me, and then it goes, it's like that. And you're like, they're going to do
Oh, God.
fucking
Yeah.
pre-arranged dance routine, and they do. And you can
Die.
tell there's always one in the couple whose idea it was, and they're totally invested, and the other
She's
one
giving it
is
stacks.
dead space. Yeah,
I
so
say
it's usually,
she, it's all
usually
usually
is,
girl.
and the fellas like they're sort of standing there, and she's proper like trained dancer.
Yeah.
Number one on your birthday was Boyzone.
No matter
that
what.
I know,
Oh, no.
all that I need.
All that I need.
What's that? What?
All that I need?
Can't
They had a
get it.
lot of number ones.
Yeah,
You're
can't
I was a
doing
big
these.
Boyzone fan. I'm literally going. Like,
You're not that big of a Boyzone
No.
fan. Number
All
one
that I
album,
need.
Isn't He by Massive Attack. It's a
Oh,
great
very
record,
good, yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah,
Robbie
yeah,
Williams in there as well. Catatonia again, Celine Dion, her album, and the Titanic soundtrack.
Oh, she had that sewn up that year.
How many of
Yeah.
those tracks are going to be on your birthday playlists? Paddy, Mavericks, Buster Rhymes, Savage Garden, Steps, Catatonia.
I was listening to the radio, so yeah, like all of that would have been
The phrase that the phrase that pays, because they couldn't say it in their
the
accent.
phrase
Remember?
that pays,
I
yeah.
listen to Long
The
Wave
phrase-
Radio,
Dusty
Atlantic
Rhodes.
252.
and Robin Banks, all the
Yeah.
Ricochet, he was also
Ricochet,
there.
yeah. Great.
Oh, his belter.
Yeah, no, I would have had most of them on it, but like it would have went awkwardly between, you know, like the Mavericks and then in the Run DMC. There was a lot of, you know, contrasting styles
Eclectic.
going on
I
there.
am
Yeah,
eclectic.
It was-
Eve by Cher was a big track around
Oh,
that time
yes.
as well.
Auto,
Yeah.
that was the first
Dodgy.
first big auto-tune one. Yeah,
Auto-tune, yeah. Slightly more credible music, if you like. You got Beastie Boys, Intergalactic, Hollow
Oh,
Master,
I
what?
love that.
great
A
record.
tune.
Yeah, that is brilliant. Tune.
Moon Safari by Air.
Oh, yes.
that
all
was
of
my. I remember putting that
Yeah.
on as makeup music.
Kelly wants
Oh
the
yeah.
stars.
Oh, hold on. Is that one then? Because I never
Sexy
knew
Boy.
the name. Is that or one? It's
Sexy
like
Boy.
very
Sexy.
No, that one.
It's
Sexy
like really
Boy.
cool elevator music. Is
Yeah,
basically
that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I know. I know what
Moon
one you're on
Safari
about. Yeah.
type of records.
Yeah.
We've already mentioned the Manics, Fatboy Slim, big records.
Ah,
Stardust music sounds better. All that sort
Yeah.
of big beat
See,
stuff that
yeah,
I love.
really.
That's not around the birthday time, so that's
Yeah,
trying
but
to
it's
sort
still
of
in that year.
add a little bit of credibility to
Yeah.
your birthday playlist. Do you want to choose your gift, Paddy?
Hit me up. What of a?
You can have one of the following. You can have one of the first DVD players,
Okay.
or you can have a Game Boy, but it's color.
Color Game Boy.
Game Boy.
I would have had the Game Boy definitely.
yeah.
Or if
Yeah.
you wanted a slightly, a slightly ironic present that maybe the kids would have been getting around the time, you could have a Tamagotchi or a Furby. Did you have either of those?
I think I had a Tamagotchi, but I just didn't have the patience for it.
Just died?
It just died. Yeah, I mean, there was too many.
It's just too-
I was very much, if I couldn't instantly connect with something, then I'd be like, nah, I'm not having this. And I think I did get one. I just couldn't work out what all the buttons. You know, you had to read the instruction manual to keep it all. I was like, nah, that's too much.
Then you went and had
Too
kids.
much like hard work.
Kids, so
Huh?
you were happy then to go and have kids?
Yeah. Well, luckily, yeah, you just kind of like make it up as you go along with them and pretend you know what you're doing. But yeah, no, if
Game
they'd have,
Boy would be
I would have
better.
been denied the right to have kids if they'd have seen the way I treated the Tamagotchi, because I just went fucking threw that in the drawer. But yeah, talking of games and toys and stuff, Riggsy hit me with the wee thing behind you there.
Oh yeah, I didn't know why this was here.
Yes, I brought-
so I just rocked up this morning.
Was this you brought this for
to
today?
record this
Yep.
podcast, and this item
Stop.
here. Do you want to hold it up to the camera there, Paddy, so people can see it?
Audio describe this for people that are listening. But basically, if anybody, I don't know if this is the.
Give it a wee rattle there.
I know.
This is the red
There's a lot
venom.
of stuff inside. I don't know what's going on. The red venom, yes. So you got me. No, so I got this.
It was basically every Christmas there's like the toy, and I
Describe
think
it there first, Claire. First.
so. This red venom is like a plastic red spaceship.
So I
um,
think it's more like
very
a
aggressive.
fighter jet than a spaceship.
It is. It is
Yeah,
actually.
but
But
it's-
part of it comes out.
It
is that
actually
right?
is. It is
Yeah.
like a space. Yeah.
So it all comes apart. So it was like part of like a. It was like a Star
mid-
Wars kind of
I would say mid 80s.
mid 80s.
Like the first one was was a spaceship, and then the next year they were bringing this was the follow up, the Red Venom, and it had wee men in it, and we played it to death. Like we
Yep.
used to take the wee men, do you remember, and like hide them all around the house and
Yep.
stuff. Literally hours of crack.
It's back in the day. Sounds like real remnant, like your granny. I remember.
Well,
how
you
was
got this when you were
the
14.
red
You
venom?
didn't get this when you were 14, did you?
No, that's what I was saying. So but you, so this was, you got me this then.
As I
about-
found
about
it,
3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah, maybe a wee bit. Something
Found
like
it
that.
online.
Found it on
It'll probably be a
eBay.
collector's item, I'd say.
Yeah, just
few years.
for people from West Belfast. 'Cause we're the only ones that
Remember the red
bus-
venom?
Oh,
The
Red
rest of us all had
Venom.
Star Wars.
Up
But
the
Yeah,
alley town,
yeah.
yeah.
We had
It was
the-
West Belfast
Yes,
based,
you
yeah.
bought this in Nuts Corner.
And there was Manta Force. So it was Manta Force was 1 year, then the next year
Red Venom,
and then
Black Barracuda.
So yeah, you got me this, and I kept it up in the attic then to try and like sort of thinking it was going to be worth something in a load of years, and then Ronan got wind that it was up there, and it had to come down.
Sure, it's there to be played with.
But then, so you got me that recently, but then 98 was when you got me the Mannix, This Is My Truth, Tell Me Yours.
Yes.
And that's whenever the music kind of escape for me changed.
Yeah.
And that's when I got serious about playing guitar, because Beth had give us, my
Mm-hmm.
auntie had give us her a guitar she'd had, and she says, that's been lying about. And I remember going, I asked her, why did you never play it? And she says, because somebody got her this guitar, and it was like mid 80s or something. And she says, she got it and she looked at it. It's like, oh, this is great. And she opened the book that came with it, and it said, tuning your guitar. The first step is to tune your guitar. It says, go to your piano. And she said, fuck that. go to your piano.
grand piano.
And like, it's just like, as if we were just in the Lena down in West Belfast, go to your grand piano. I said, fuck that there. So she never touched it. And then I started trying to learn all the Manic songs.
When I'm saying like that's my abiding memory of you, like trying to learn. So that is actually 1998 because you were breaking the back of, you're a very, very good guitar player now, but like we were all there listening because the attic didn't have a door, as we've discussed. It was a storage area.
units don't
So
tend to
Patrick
have-
stored himself in there, and there was like the door. So he would be like, ding, ding, ding. Ding 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 ding
Yeah.
ding ding. And you're up there going,
Song is that?
Mummy, yeah. It's not
Dueling
a song.
banjos.
It's not a song.
Yeah, it was
but
me just
like
tuning.
he was very, so we were there at the birth of you, trying to crack how to learn. How
yeah,
to play
whether you
guitar.
liked it or not, because
Yeah, so that's
there was
I
no
remember.
door on the attic.
wrapping up Paddy's birthday party, Paddy has this idea that every birthday party or every social gathering is ruined. The ambience is
Yeah.
taken down by an elder member of your family.
Yep, who announces who's just died, sort of in celebrity kind of terms. So they would come in,
Yeah.
everybody's having a bit of fun, you're playing a bit of, pin the tail on a donkey. Didn't really have piñatas back then, weren't really
No.
culturally.
No.
There was no West Belfast piñatas. But yeah, so basically, so this is a section called Guess Who's
Quite
Dead.
a lot of, if you want to choose one, might make a bit of a
Oh,
game of it. you know.
okay.
He's dead.
Yeah.
98, who would have died?
I would have died.
Was there...
There's actually the one that's very close to your birthday is really devastating, and I'm loath to bring it up. There's a few more fun deaths that we can talk about as we build.
Fun
up.
deaths.
yeah,
Well, they're
fun
a lot.
deaths.
They're a lot
Yeah.
more fun than the
I
one
want to
we're
have a
actually-
fun death.
Well, Pol Pot. right?
Pol Pot, gone for not forgotten.
Not to be confused with Paul Potts from Britain's Got Talent.
Yeah, the
Your
singer.
man, the Garphone Warehouse.
Still very much at large.
Still very much, yeah.
Frank Sinatra, Sonny Bono, Linda McCartney,
Sonny.
Phil Hartman. That's a very tragic, awful death. And then the one that's right by your birthday, Dermot Morgan.
Oh, stop.
So
Ted.
I know,
Yeah,
isn't
there
it
you
just
go.
you know?
It is
It's
terrible.
really heartbreaking to think that Dermot Morgan is no longer with us, and
Yep.
Dermot Morgan died shortly after they filmed
The,
the last.
the
scene.
very last,
Yeah.
it was I think
Terrible,
It was
like,
around,
to
yeah.
think.
They
Do you know that
just
the
fin-
last scene of Father Ted was supposed to be different to what it was?
No,
Right.
Because it was supposed. So Dermot Morgan, I'm kind of. I didn't sort of look this up, so correct me if this is completely
Yeah.
wrong. I'm riffing a little bit, but Dermot Morgan, Father Ted, talks a priest down from the side of a building, and that's why he gets nominated, or he's going to
the
get on.
Gold-
Yeah,
the Golden
no, it's the Golden Clerk's
no,
like
Clerk.
before, but anyway, and it was supposed to be during the last episode when they're supposed to go to America, and then they didn't get to go to America.
Yeah.
And then he went, budge over and kind of make room for me, like he was going to jump off a building, and then they took that out because it was just too
too much.
Dark.
it was just awful. So and instead they have a bit where he's going, or I think like Dougal and Mrs. Doyle are going, "You're here forever and ever and ever," and then they have a scene from every episode of Father Ted going backwards, and they did that instead because it was literally just as they'd finished recording the
Yeah,
last.
that was the very end of it.
like a
Yeah, it's just
few days
so.
later.
He was only
yeah,
like
few days.
45 or something, or maybe a bit older.
a wee bit older, but yeah, just awful. So that
Yeah.
really would bring the tongue.
Yeah, that really would.
Do you remember
yeah,
this
that-
graffiti in Belfast that just said "Father Ted is dead" for years? Do you remember that?
Oh, where was that?
Beautiful, poignant. I think it was
Stop! I
Botanic
actually
direction, and that's just all it said. It just said "Father Ted is dead,"
Oh.
and it was really like
Yeah,
just
get
kinda
get you.
gawky.
Yeah.
there's like see for graffiti and stuff, like there are things that you remember, like being like emblazoned on walls or whatever. Like I mean, that one there is like.
Do you
that's-
remember that?
I don't remember that one, but like
We never left West Belfast.
because
you
it
see.
was in West
'Cause-
Belfast. But like we were just thinking, obviously, in 1998, the thing, my memory, which it still gives me like the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. When I was trying to get into upstairs in the Egg without an ID because I was only 16, and it was my birthday, and I was flying down in a taxi, and we're going down the motorway and looking up at the Black Mountain, and it was the referendum, the Good Friday Agreement, and it just had yes 71.1, no 68.
Aye, but-
I'm just about to give a
Can't be
master.
that
Not
much,
six,
it's
not 68,
percentage.
28, 20. No, it's not. Well, anyway.
Yeah, well, it was about that.
I did get
So,
a B in my maths. But anyway, I remember seeing it, like the referendum result emblazoned, and just like driving past and going, oh my God, like feeling like there was something.
That was the start of
Different in the air.
Of
That's
the-
1998, by the way. So
And that is
we
98.
should
Yeah,
talk
that
about
is. Well, there
yeah.
you go. Yeah, but that would have been the start of the side of the mountain being used for slogans, because that's kind of common now.
I think it was used. It was used when we were growing up, but
I don't
usually
remember.
for like political things, and usually like it was very, very heavily political.
Yeah.
And it's being from West Belfast, it was very, very one sided, and but this was the first where I felt like, oh my goodness,
Yeah,
this is
something-
something in the air that's and it was very, very, I don't know, it was just
Now it's used for like
Now
that's
it's used
us,
for
that's us
every-
now. It says and all
yeah. Ew.
promotional things. 2 for 1.
Yeah.
Pepsi Max in the centre. 1 per customer. They need to go
Do you
around
know
the
what
Davis for that.
they go out and do you know
On
how
the
they do
Kia
them?
film.
Do you know what they do it with bed sheets? So,
Yeah.
like, can you imagine them out like with
Yeah.
bed sheets doing like 2 for 1? Like, is this actually?
Yeah,
worth it?
I remember being in Dunn's Manny's at the end. There were fellas in with armfuls of. That's a Valance. They're 2 dear. What's a Valance? That's the skirting one.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, it's the Good Friday Agreement. Come on,
Yeah.
we were trying to.
Yeah.
I had to get your percentages right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Did
remember
it mean
that.
anything to you at 14? Well, obviously it did mean something to you, but what did it
Yeah.
mean to you, I guess, is a better question.
Jesus, it was so the Good Friday. Yeah, it was. You knew how huge it was, and that's what like people you think that whenever I kind of remember. I was born in '84, so I kind of really only remember from like 1990 onwards. Like the tail end of the Troubles, and when you say that, people think, I've like been speaking to people from different countries. They're like, oh, it must have been, sort of winding down. It got pretty sort of manic towards the end,
Yeah, in school, the run up, and Mo Molam, obviously the big hitter, like coming out, and you were kind of going, like, are they ever going to get this over the line? Always coming out stony faced and talk after talks after talks. And then all of a sudden this thing got over the line and it was going to be signed. And it was genuinely like the thing that you'd been just like almost everybody had fantasized about what this place would be like if it was peace. Like everybody did. But I don't know if anybody actually believed it would ever happen. And all of a sudden it was like, it was, you know, this opportunity. For me, it was like, honestly, like a door opened. You know, there was this new era.
At the age that we were as well, like being sort of young teenagers, and it was like there was a lack of optimism, I think, from the older generation because they'd been close on a few occasions beforehand. So it wasn't like it was going to be a foregone conclusion. It wasn't. So when it did actually happen, it was like slightly, nobody really believed it. And I remember one of the things that I didn't know was going to happen, and it just shows you by the way it was talked about, was that when it was, you know, the vote, you know, was announced and everybody was cheering, I think almost like nearly literally the next day there was the footage of the prisoners all walking out, the loyalist Republican prisoners, you know, being greeted by their families and everybody walking out. And I remember kind of going, what's this? And I remember Mummy being like, this is the prisoners getting released. And I was like, what? Was this in the small print? Was this like, you know, I didn't know this was going to happen. Yeah. So I was like, what? And she's like, no, this is part of it. And like she had to then explain, like, this was a political thing that was happening. The reason they're in, it was said was this was a political thing. So now that we're resolving it, it's like they shouldn't have been in there to an extent. So that's them all getting out. I was like,
well, like, I know you're saying about us always hanging about, you know, where you lived in your own area, but it's like after that year, after 98, you know, going into town and being more, and it, like that was. Everything was open to you. You realised there was life beyond the park centre. Like, really? And it was called Castle Court. Yeah. But, yeah, just everything did change. And I still don't feel any less, it doesn't feel any less dramatic when I think back. It's like, oh my God.
Would you have revisited on Derry Girls very, you know, very closely? Yeah,
I think, and I was the same age as the girls who in school, you know, as they are, in the show. And so every step, and obviously going to school where, you know, there were nuns and all that, like you had to pray every day before school, or before every lesson, everybody would pray, and you pray for peace, you know, you pray for peace.
That's right. Yeah.
And I can actually remember, it's like thinking of another poignant moment. So the ceasefires that came in 94, so the IRA had their ceasefire, and then about a month and a half later, I don't know, don't quote me, the UVF had their thing, and we'd be like praying every day, you know, pray for peace, blah blah blah. And I remember standing beside Karen Orr, and the teacher said, and you know, the UVF have a ceasefire.
What do I pray for now? She's ad-libbing.
Yeah, riffing.
Let's go back to Africa.
And Karen Orr literally just like held my hand. She was like, there's peace, like this.
Aww.
And I remember being like, oh my God, you know, because we were kids, like, but that's. So watching the Derry Girls, and obviously the irreverence as well, because like, yeah, you prayed, and then it was like, it wasn't the thing that you thought about every day, but it was this backdrop. But
so you were in Derry Girls, Miss Mooney. You all three series. Yep. So yeah, obviously it's going out at the minute. It's huge, rightly so. And but yeah, having that sort of connection, and I suppose for you as well, like being the same age as those girls were at that time, you know. And I remember, was it series 1 or 2 ended with the Oma bomb?
Series 1.
It's a referee. Like it's not exactly Oma bombing, but it is. Yeah,
it's hold my eyes on.
Yeah.
It's just the with Grandpa Joe
the connection with them too.
He puts his hand
on
the
shoulder.
It was just after Dolores O'Riordan had died.
So
it got this bonus level of
getting shivers now as you're talking.
It was like, oh, this is, come on. It just felt like it was just destined to break as many hearts as possible.
There's moments in all the series, like, because obviously it is so funny. Like, it is so funny. And then what Lisa does so brilliantly is, you know, the pathos and the sucker punch emotional things that take you by surprise.
And what I think is really lovely about that is that it's not shoehorned in. Those things kept happening, you know, in your life where, you know, the adults, and I was reading something she was saying about, you know, how we wanted to do so much, but the adults, the older ones at that time knew look, you can't be doing it, and there was reasons behind it. So to have that sort of push and pull where you've got the older ones, like you say, the granddad, coming
They're
and putting
watching
the hand-
that while the girls are on
Do-
like doing their
worrying
dance
about dance
routine
routines and all that, yeah.
But like even
My-
like the second was it in the second series when, and obviously Donna Trainer who like comes back and goes back into her 90s garb, and she loves being part of it, like, but
And looks the same.
looks
I know.
exactly
I love it.
because everybody's like, is that stock footage? And it's like, no, Donna comes in and you know she loves it, but like that bit, and that bit got me, you know, watching it, you know, when she's reading it about, you know, the complete cessation of violence from the IRA, and like that was a thing. Like I used to always imagine what a newsreader would sound like saying those words. You know, there's peace. Like you always saw Trevor McDonald. You know, like good evening, it's news at 10, and he was like, "There's peace in Northern Ireland tonight." And I'd be like, as if that'll ever happen, as if. And then when Lisa put that in, it's just because we still remember it, and then people who didn't live through it, I mean, get to experience what we did, and it happened. It's real, you know, which is
It's pretty on them. If you'd have closed your eyes, or you would have swore Trevor McDonald was in the.
Yeah, that was incredible.
But we used to do that. Do you remember when we used to record?
Didn't need a
on-
blackface for it though.
Anybody watching? Yes, Claire did attempt blackface. No.
I did not.
But do you remember we used to do it when we recorded? We'd record wee tapes, and it was always the news we would do, and it was always to do with Princess Diana. You know, it was always like Princess Diana has blah blah blah. 'Cause she was always in the news. But no, my sort of like the moment, like that Derry Girls moment we were saying about the, you know, the poignant bits, like from the. Something that I remember vividly happening was that just encapsulates exactly that moment and who you were at that time in 1998 was making a mixtape. You know, where you would listen to the radio, and it was a real craft. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember writing the tape out? You know, when they had to do really small writing, they fit
Yeah.
everything in.
Who are you making the mixtape for? Was it?
Oh, it was just for me. Yeah,
for
it
you.
was. I would never have had the guts to give it to a girl or whatever, because it would just all be ABBA.
No,
and
the only,
Steps.
but what you could do was, like, I remember making a mixtape always for myself.
Yeah.
And then one day having the billiard balls to bring it into school when we were, because I think they said when we were playing at PE, you can bring in music. And like, I was like in a fit of madness one night. I lifted the tape, and I was like, I've got a tape. And she's like, stick it on then. And as you're putting it in, you're going, what am I doing? Why have I
Yeah,
done
you're
this?
exposing yourself to.
Put it in the cassette tape and hit it. And I remember Spice Girls, Say You'll Be There. I'm giving you
Oh, and you had to watch
everything.
how it
And the
landed.
girls who wanted to hate it, you know, was like, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, it is. There's some other ones on there. Tony Braxton is coming too.
It was
You know,
it was the 90s version of getting the aux cord. You know, like when you get
Yeah,
the aux cord,
it's
sticking it on.
basically just like, you know, opening yourself. This is what I listen to in my spare time.
And then
Judge me, please.
And then you'd shit yourself going, oh no, Tony Rich project is next. Nobody knows it but me. And you're like, but we'll just forward this one, you know. But yeah, so I
mixtapes.
made, I think that might have been on the mixtape, but I made a 1998 mixtape because there's some class songs on the radio. Do you remember, like, I remember Jamiroquai, Deeper Underground?
That was a
from
tune.
the Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Another film might come out of the cinema.
It's like
pretending.
Gorilla, from the Gorilla movie.
Oh, I love that. The very famous Gorilla movie. But yeah, Godzilla soundtrack. Puff Daddy, Come With
Oh
Me.
my
Do you remember
God.
that?
Yeah,
That was
Led Zeppelin.
I
a
see. I
belter.
thought. I remember I was telling you the other day. I thought that Puff Daddy came up with that riff. Little did I know it's Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
I was like, here, Puff Daddy's a bit of a, you know, like bit of an operator there, you know. But anyway, so yeah, I was making this mixtape, and it was taking me. It could sometimes take like a couple of weeks to get it filled with the music you wanted. And I remember I was looking for Manic's If You Tolerate This, Your Children Will Be Next. And I couldn't get it, like, so because it wasn't like
very
the
wordy-
most popular
wordy title
song.
there,
Yeah,
so very wordy.
it got the number one, and it had the accolade of being the number one with the longest title ever at that point. Anyway, but anyway, so I was looking for that song, and I remember being up in the front room, up in the wee small room upstairs, and I was listening for the Manics, and Carolyn Stewart came on the radio, Cool FM, I'm pretty sure it was at the time, and she was like, coming up on the hour, within this hour, we've got da-da-da-da, and the Manic Street Preachers, If You Tolerate This, is coming up. Happy days. So I waited, and it got to the song, and I got it from the very start, bang, intro and everything, no problem. So I went across into the bathroom to go to the toilet, and I was like, I've got like about 3 minutes here, but to get back, and within about a minute, I could hear Carolyn Stewart talking, And I was like, what the? I was raging, you know, that the song had been cut short. And I came in and I hit stop and I was so annoyed. And I remember going downstairs cracking up about it to mummy and all. She's like, what's wrong? I was like, why was she even bothering to talk? So I went out the back for a bit. And then I came in and that's when I could see mummy was all like kind of listening to something and was all upset. And it was about maybe 20 minutes after. It's like, what's wrong? And she says, there's something going on or whatever. And I went up. It was the Oma bomb had happened.
No.
And I was recording and Carolyn Stewart cut across it to say, and when I went back up to listen to it, she's saying, any first responders, anybody in the area, doctors, nurses, whatever. And I was like, at the time, not necessarily realising the gravity of what, I knew it was bad.
Your introduction had
It had been cut short. Well, there might have been a bit of that, and it wasn't until then I went downstairs, and that's what Mummy was talking about and everything, you know, because Mummy being a nurse and whatever, like, we're nowhere near Oma, and we don't leave West Belfast anyway. But we're like, she was just like, this is, and I remember going, that's just so. But whenever that happened in Derry Girls, then where it's your childhood was punctuated, by these things, and you couldn't everything stopped for, you know, it's that was literally the same, you know, and that's something you would imagine them doing in one of the episodes, making a mixtape and something like that happening and cutting across it. But so to have
that punctuated by moments of that, or Pamela Ballantyne's McBride's Fashion, Granny's Pop Socks, £2.99. She always
like, this is Radio 1. How did she get on Radio 1? There's no adverts on Radio 1.
Granny pants, £2.50.
Do you remember that there was one? We were going to have Pamela on at some stage. Like I was saying, there was literally one. Granny dresses, $4.95. Granny dresses.
McBride's Fashions.
Your Pamela Ballantyne's quite good. I'll give you that.
Yeah. I have to work on my Trevor.
Trevor McDonald
Better than your Trevor. In fairness. To wrap up on a slightly more upbeat note, some sort of fun scandals from 1998. Your favourite fun scandal, I mean, the big two for that particular year were George Michael arrested for lewd behaviour.
That's right.
In what did he do specifically?
Did he expose himself in a public toilet to a man?
I don't hear bad words said about George
No,
Michael.
I think he's brilliant.
I think it was not he was going in to hook up with guys. It wasn't just within because exposing yourself.
No, what it was, right, is that I'm pretty sure it turned out to be an undercover cop in the urinals in a thing, and he turned around as if to sort of display the goods to see, you know, because when you're a fella and you go for you know, Rigsy, you'll think, sometimes you catch a glimpse.
Rigsy's like, what?
Sometimes you catch a glimpse of something that's going on. You know what I mean?
Do you know I have seen quite a selection of celebrity.
Right.
What's the word we want to use here?
Phalluses.
Penis?
Penises?
Is that where
she went there.
I was at in probably around no, it would have been a bit later, at David Beckham's stag do.
No.
Yeah,
No way.
No.
By accident. I wasn't
You were invited?
I was, because they all went to see Fatboy Slim in Dublin, and I was interviewing Fatboy Slim, who had a big hit in 1998. A number of big hits.
Right here,
Oh
right
my
now.
God.
Was it?
And all those tracks.
Praise you. I love that.
We were having a few drinks in the same hotel which we had access to because we were sort of a guest of Fatboy Slim's, and I ended up being at the toilet beside pretty much everybody in the sort of went on to be the treble winning My Little Squad.
Oh my God.
And you got to have a glance, don't you, like?
He got
Of course, yeah. See what
reasonable to
and I suppose because they're all like in the showers together, they don't care. They're probably having.
I wasn't walking up and sort of sticking my head down.
But I'm saying they were probably very, you know, sort of relaxed about, you know the fellas that turn round and they're a bit too relaxed, and they'll actually turn round still shaking it while they go over to wash their hands. I've seen that happen a couple of times where fellas like, nah, you're just showing off there.
Let's wrap with your questions.
Yes,
then.
kids' questions. So we do a wee thing where my kids get to ask any guest.
It's a bit weird that you're getting your kids to record questions.
Yeah, well, I got Kim to do it, so my wife has recorded them and sent them on to me. So they ask a question of each guest, because they're always, every time I'm saying I'm going to be, you know, talking to blah blah blah.
This is the only way that his kids are able to talk to him. It's by recorded messages that he plays back at the podcast. It's their access to their father.
It's like I go and do we record these in the McDonald's car park, you know.
Oh my God.
when
every other Saturday they get to send you these.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. So don't know whose this is first, but we'll see.
Daddy, what was your favourite cartoon when you were a kid?
Oh, okay. So that's Clara.
Do it when you were a kid, and then give us your favourite TV programme at the age of 14, and I'll tell you.
I'll do
big shows of the year.
Simpsons in '98 was huge.
Yeah.
I remember that. And that was the year that Doritos finally reached here. Doritos are one of those American crisps that you saw in American films
Yeah.
and stuff, and you always wanted them.
Yeah.
And then they came here in
That's
'98,
right.
and Homer, that was the Simpsons, were in the advert for it. It's a bit like Twinkies, you know, like you see Twinkies in all the movies, but we don't get them here.
Yeah.
And then
I'm
I
okay with
finally
that.
tried one over in America. Have you ever had a Twinkie?
No.
Disgusting.
I was
Yeah, a
gonna
bit
say,
of a
I'm
waste.
okay
There's
with it.
quite a lot of American
Loads of
candy
sugar.
is such a big deal, and you try.
stinking.
It's
It's
nonsense.
disgusting. It's just more that thing when you see American cops like eating a
Yeah.
Twinkie in one go. Loved all that. So yeah, Simpsons in '98 would have
Okay.
been big for me.
Mm-hmm.
TV wise, probably like Friends and Frasier and stuff. Anything that was Channel
X-Files,
4.
maybe?
The
Or no,
end of
it's very strange.
Seinfeld in
No,
1998.
Oh,
Seinfeld's
yeah.
last episode, controversial last episode, kind of remembered as being a bit crap. The start of SMTV Live, the start of Robot Wars, and the start of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
No
Oh
way.
yeah.
Brilliant.
And
It was massive. I remember being
Yeah.
at Queen's and going. They
it
had
was in the papers and all. It was big hype about it. You know.
Judith
yeah,
Keppel.
they had it at
Always
Queen's. They had
remember
a night in the Mandela, and it was called "Who Wants to Be a Drunken Bastard."
Yeah, they were probably sat for ages trying to think, hey, what millionaire, what kind of, you know, so just say drunken bastard.
drunken
Yeah,
bastard.
there's no pun to be. I always said with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire from the word go, and I felt so vindicated. Do you remember that thing came out called Quiz that had Matthew McFadden or whatever
Yeah,
boy pronounced his name
yeah.
from Succession? McFadden, Matthew McFadden, But McFadden. I don't know anyway. But basically, he that show
That was
exposed what I'd said from word go. I used to go, they're all posh bastards on this. All this, it's, you know, and they all had double barrel names. Like, and I used to go, they don't need this million. They
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
don't. And
yeah.
I used to bother me that you always had these white middle class
How did-
people, and when they sat in the chair and says, "What do you do for a living?" They were like top flying. Oh, I'm an architect, and I'm a. I think, where's the bus drivers and the cleaners? And then it turns out that there was a big syndicate that were rigging it. Did you not? Did you, not,
Yeah,
did
I
you ever
did
watch
watch
the quiz
that.
thing? Yeah.
I did one.
And that's what it was.
They
Was
were
these
ringing.
people who were in? They were from the pub quiz leagues, you know, Middle
Yeah.
England, and they were sort of. And I was like, whenever I saw it, I fucking knew it. I said it from the word go.
It wasn't all of them, like, but they just
Most,
Yeah.
but it was because you got to see them all. No, they'd be sitting waving like jewelry dripping off them and all, you know, and then doing the Queen's wave. But yeah, that was, and then what was the other one before that? That in '98 was Robot Wars. Loved
Robot
Robot
Wars,
Wars.
yeah.
Yeah,
BBC
Robot Wars
Two.
started.
Yeah.
SMTV Live, quite a few big hitters started around 1998. Should we get the other question?
This is
Yeah.
the last question then from Ronan. Then it must be.
Daddy, what was your hair like back then? Were you a wee baldy bap?
Were you a wee baldy bap? Shit. Obviously, it wasn't bald in 1998. That was prime curtains.
Oh, curtains.
My curtains were that good. I used to play football and wanted to be David Beckham. And I used to joke on stage, say, my curtains were that good. I got trials with Harry Corey. Hey, we like your curtains. I couldn't play
Yeah.
like Beckham.
Explain to our younger listeners what
Harry
God.
Corey. Harry, like, well, sit back. You're probably getting it on Amazon these days, but see back in the day, Harry Corey was the go-to. No, explain what curtains were.
Curtains,
Are coming back. All the kids are rocking curtains these days.
In 1998, would you have been the type to have had an undercut or a step?
Yes, yeah.
Because I was never. So an undercut was. So basically, you would have had 2 levels for your hair. Claire, you could maybe help me explain this.
Undercut would be like
Undercut,
totally
they shaved
Shaved up
to
under
shaved up
so that
and
their
then you had
hair
the long.
so
that
your
was
curtains
epic.
over it, yeah.
that
Your
was
curtains
epic
were,
sporty.
were just the remaining. They kind of
Top,
went over
Yeah.
almost, yeah.
a bald head.
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
While a step was just a
Just-
lower level and an upper level.
Shaved
Yeah,
shaved
like
in
say
closer,
a-
and
say
then
a
it went
2,
out a bit.
like a 1 or
But
a
I was
2.
never allowed. My mate Mickey was allowed to get an undercut.
Yeah.
That's quintessential. I mean,
I
that's
wanted an undercut.
quintessential
I was
style.
never ever allowed. I was only allowed to
The
get
step.
a step.
Yeah, I was the
Were you
same.
allowed a step or an undercut?
Steps
Yeah.
on the radio, steps in my
Yeah,
head.
step-
That's all.
step,
But
yeah, you were
I
like-
wanted an undercut, and I got it one time. But what they don't tell you is when you go for an undercut, is that they have to like almost shave a line into your head that looks like an elastic band around your head to cultivate this upper level. So I got it, and I came out, and maybe they just did this to me to piss me off. But I came out with a line round my head, and Mummy cracked up. She was like, "Go
Yeah.
back to them and tell." So I had to then get it shaved to create a step. But that was
Yeah.
back in, remember Joe Gad's Barbers,
Yeah.
where they did the thing. I don't know if they do it now because obviously I don't frequent barbers these days myself. But do you remember he glued a pound coin to the floor, and so it was just on the way out the door. There was this pound coin glued to the floor, but you wouldn't think it was glued. It looked like it had just fell, and they got endless amount. That's the kind of
Yeah.
humor I'm into. So their day was brightened by whenever they were shaving heads all day, watching people going out, you know, like trying to
yeah.
stop, you know, like
Yeah,
just do a wee
just let-
cheeky pickup, and like this thing was stuck
Yeah.
solid. And they were like, ew, I mean, fucking raging. That's my
Yeah.
kind of humor.
On that bombshell.
On that bombshell, Riggsy, let's glue a pound to the floor in
Yeah.
here
Oh
and
my
see
God,
who-
get your
see who
celebs
tries
in.
to pick it up.
Get Pamela Valentine.
These
like,
these carpets are this is just tiles of carpet, so it'll just come up with a tile of carpet attached to it. Yeah. Well, anyway, here, thanks for coming in for this, Claire.
No worries.
It's been fun having you. We'll get you in for your Wonder Year, probably 1994.
I'd say so.
1994, much better than 98. In conclusion, 1998, musically, culturally, not the best.
Ah, come on.
Yeah.
Away that way.
Putting it
Yeah.
in the bin.
We'll see what 94 is like.
It was all happening around Park Centre. You had to be there. You
Yeah.
had to be there in 19.
Thank you.
The Wonder Year with Paddy Raff.